Elizabeth Clayton, called Ellie by friends and family, stood by the window, watching her 8-month-old daughter Emma napping under the Japanese maple tree in the garden. The gentle May breeze rocked the baby's bassinet, filling Ellie's chest with a sense of contented happiness. She had once worked as a buyer at an upscale New York department store, but now devoted her days to childcare. As she sipped her coffee, she was certain it had been the most important decision of her life. Is Emma still sleeping? Ellie turned to see her husband Michael emerging from his office. His gentle brown eyes showed signs of fatigue, yet they were filled with affection. His job as an engineer at an IT company kept him busy, sometimes tying him up in lengthy video conferences even on remote work days. Still, he always made time for his family and readily helped with baby care. Yes, she finally fell asleep. She was crying all night yesterday, so I hope she sleeps soundly today. Michael walked over to the window and put his arm around Ellie's shoulders. You're doing such a wonderful job. Emma is a lucky child. Ellie smiled, leaning against her husband. Their peaceful moment was interrupted by the ringtone of her cell phone in the living room. Looking at the screen, she saw it was from her sister Vanessa. Ellie sighed. It's Vanessa again, she said before answering. I'm sure it's about that fancy baby crib. The conversation with Vanessa went exactly as Ellie had predicted. Vanessa worked as a manager at an upscale brand store downtown and always kept an eye on the latest trends and status symbols. She was asking again about the baby crib she had given to Ellie and Michael. Ellie, are you using that crib yet? I want to see photos. Upload them to Instagram. Ellie closed her eyes, summoning her patience. Not yet, Vanessa. Emma still seems to prefer the bassinet. Still. At 8 months? She must have gotten so big. The elite sleeper can be used from 6 months to 3 years. It's really popular among celebrity moms. I know, but Mom is concerned too. She says it's so disappointing that such an expensive gift isn't being used. Vanessa's voice had a tone of reproach. Ellie looked out the window, narrowing her eyes. Vanessa, can't you just let us go at our own pace? After hanging up, Ellie sat down on the sofa and looked up at Michael with a tired expression. Same conversation again? Michael asked as he sat beside her. Yes. Vanessa and Mom seem to think that not using what they've chosen for us is a personal insult. Family relationships had always been complicated. Her mother Carol, a former high school teacher, was actively involved in local social circles after retirement. She always valued appearances and worried about how others perceived her. Her father Thomas had a mild temperament but tended to follow his wife and Vanessa's opinions. Ellie was always considered the practical one and sometimes criticized for being too plain. I got an email from your mother yesterday, Michael said. They're coming this weekend. Your father too. Ellie frowned. Really? She didn't tell me anything. Maybe they're coming to see that baby crib, Michael said jokingly, but they both knew the truth. Ellie felt a headache coming on. Her family was loving, but sometimes they didn't respect her choices. Especially her mother and Vanessa couldn't understand Ellie's tendency to prioritize practicality and safety, and always advised her to be more stylish. The phone rang again. This time it was Ellie's best friend Rachel. Rachel was a former colleague from when Ellie worked at the department store, and one of the few people with whom she had maintained a friendship. Rachel. I was just wanting to talk to you, Ellie said with relief in her voice. What's wrong? You sound tired. It's my family. They're putting pressure on me again about that baby crib. The elite sleeper. You're still not using it. Ellie hesitated. Actually, I don't plan to use it. Why not? I'll explain, but I'd rather talk about it in person. Okay. How about lunch tomorrow? At that cafe? Thanks, that would be great. After hanging up, Ellie turned to Michael. From her expression, he could tell something was bothering her. Everything okay? He asked. Ellie sank back into the sofa and said, carefully choosing her words, there's something I need to tell you about that baby crib. Just then, they heard Emma crying from the garden. Michael stood up, saying, let's talk later, and headed outside. Ellie watched him go, feeling torn between her desire to avoid conflict with her family and her determination to keep her daughter safe. Perhaps talking with Rachel tomorrow would clarify what she should do. At least Rachel would understand. 3 months ago, Ellie's baby shower had been held at her parents' spacious suburban home. Pastel pink and blue balloons swayed in the garden, and delicate finger foods were beautifully arranged on tables. Amidst gathered friends and relatives, Ellie smiled as she greeted everyone, cradling her growing belly. Then came time for gifts. Finally, we have something special, Carol announced as Thomas and Vanessa brought in a large box. This is from all of us. Ellie carefully opened the wrapping paper and found an elegant baby crib inside. The Elite Sleeper, with its glossy white wood and delicate gold decorations, was undeniably beautiful. It's perfect for you, sis. Vanessa said with a broad smile. It matches your minimal interior too, isn't it lovely? Carol nodded. It's very popular among celebrity moms right now. That Hollywood actress uses it too. It's a luxury item, so be grateful. Ellie noticed that the price tag had been removed from the box, but she knew this brand's reputation. It probably cost more than half her monthly salary. Thank you, really. She stammered. Thank you for such a lovely gift. But deep down, she felt uncomfortable. Why hadn't Vanessa and her parents consulted her and Michael about the simple, practical crib they had already chosen? After the party, while Michael was loading gifts into the car, Vanessa grabbed Ellie's arm. Thanks for pretending to be happy in front of everyone, she whispered. I could tell from your face that you didn't like it at first. But trust me, this will make you the envy of other moms. Ellie forced a smile. I was just surprised. Thank you, really. Back home, Ellie read the instruction manual for the baby crib. There were many descriptions of the luxury materials and innovative design, with phrases like, the ultimate sleep experience chosen by celebrity children appearing repeatedly. However, there was surprisingly little information about safety and material details. Something bothering you? Michael peered over her shoulder at the manual. I don't know, Ellie frowned. Something feels off. She took out her smartphone and searched for Elite Sleeper baby crib reviews. Many photos of celebrities and influencers appeared, all proudly showcasing their babies with the same crib. But she found almost no practical reviews of the product itself. The next day, Ellie met Rachel at the cafe. It certainly looks beautiful, Rachel said, looking at the baby crib photo on Ellie's smartphone. But it prioritizes appearance over practicality, Rachel shrugged. It's strange that there's so little detailed information about safety. You think so too? Ellie sighed with relief. I thought I was just being neurotic. You're a mother. You have every right to be neurotic. That weekend, Ellie and Michael assembled the baby crib. The parts from the box had a luxurious feel, and the assembly instructions were clear. However, Ellie noticed an unnaturally strong smell from the completed bed. Doesn't this smell strange? She asked Michael. Michael sniffed it. It has a bit of a new product smell. But it'll probably fade away. Ellie wasn't convinced. She held Emma and brought her near the crib. Strangely, the usually calm Emma suddenly became irritable and began rubbing her face with her small hands. What's wrong, Emma? Ellie observed her baby with concern. Small red spots began appearing on Emma's cheeks. Ellie quickly moved her daughter away from the crib and took her to another room. After a few minutes, the rash began to fade, and Emma calmed down. The next day, Ellie conducted an experiment. When she brought Emma near the baby crib again, the same reaction occurred. This time she even started coughing. Ellie immediately moved the baby away, feeling deep anxiety. "Michael," she called her husband. "There's something wrong with this bed. Emma seems to be having an allergic reaction." Michael was skeptical at first, but changed his attitude when Ellie showed him photos on her smartphone, Emma's red rash near the crib, and her normal skin went away from it. "What could be causing this?" he frowned. "I don't know. But I think we should stop using it." That afternoon, Ellie secretly purchased another baby crib from a local children's store. She chose one that was simple, practical, and had clearly displayed safety standards. She set it up in another room and started putting Emma to sleep there. The baby showed no problems. However, the issue was the relationship with her family. "How's the crib? Does Emma like it?" Messages from Vanessa came almost daily. "It's lovely, thank you," Ellie continued to lie. "Send photos." The demand came from her mother as well. Ellie made up excuses. "She's sleeping right now. Let me tidy up first. I'll take a nice photo this weekend." And today, Michael had come home early from work and sat Ellie down on the sofa. "I want you to be honest," he said with a serious expression. "Why aren't you using that luxury baby crib? I know you're hiding another bed because of concern for family. But why?" Ellie took a deep breath. "See for yourself," she smiled. "Try putting the baby to sleep." With a confused expression, Michael picked up Emma and approached the elite sleeper. As Emma began to flail her little arms and legs, and the moment Michael tried to place her in the bed, her skin began to redden and swell with intense coughing. Michael immediately picked Emma up, his face pale. "My goodness," he said in a trembling voice. "Something is definitely wrong." Ellie took Emma from him and gently rubbed her back. "This is what I wanted to tell you. Something from the bed is causing Emma to have an allergic reaction." Michael's expression became determined. "We need to investigate. This isn't just a sensitivity issue. It could be something serious." Ellie looked at her husband and felt true relief for the first time. At least he would be on her side. But she knew there would be conflict with her family ahead. "Your mom and the others are coming next week, right?" she asked. Michael nodded. "We'll have to explain. Do you think they'll understand?" "I don't know," Michael answered honestly. "But Emma's health comes first. That's for sure." Holding Emma close, Ellie wavered between anxiety about what was to come and determination to protect her child's safety. The next morning, Michael called his company to take time off. Ellie showed a relieved expression at his determination. "How should we investigate?" Ellie asked, sitting at the kitchen table and drinking coffee. Michael opened his laptop and said, "First, we need to identify what this is. Let's collect samples from the bed." Ellie nodded and said, "Rachel's friend Natalie is a medical journalist. I'll try contacting her." Michael began carefully examining the baby crib. He collected small samples from areas with particularly strong odors. Ellie was moved by Michael's serious expression. Until yesterday, she had worried that she might be overreacting, but now she felt they were tackling the problem together. "My college friend David is a pediatrician," Michael said. "He might be able to arrange tests." Ellie picked up her smartphone and searched for elite sleeper health issues. The first results were mostly corporate press releases and positive reviews. But after scrolling through several pages, she found several social media links with "content has been removed" messages. "This is strange," she frowned. "There are lots of deleted posts." Michael peeked at her screen. "That's suspicious. Something might be being covered up. That afternoon, Ellie met with Rachel and her friend Natalie. Natalie was a journalist who had written numerous articles about the safety of children's products. Natalie said, taking a sip of coffee, "Actually, I think I've heard something about this brand." She opened her laptop and began checking her files. "Here it is," she suddenly exclaimed. Last year, a blogger deleted all her content after posting a critical review of the Elite Sleeper. "I found it strange and tried to contact her, but..." "And?" Ellie leaned forward. She didn't want to talk. It seemed like there was some legal issue. The three women looked at each other. "So, you're saying someone is suppressing information about known problems?" Rachel said. "It's possible," Natalie chose her words carefully. "I'll investigate further." 2 days later, Michael received a call from his friend David. His voice was filled with tension. "Mike, the test results for your samples are in. I'm afraid it's not good news." Michael switched to speaker mode so Ellie could hear too. "What did you find?" Ellie asked anxiously. "High concentrations of formaldehyde and a type of flame retardant that was banned several years ago. They seem to be particularly present in the wood finish and adhesives. These can definitely cause skin irritation and respiratory problems." Ellie and Michael looked at each other, holding the phone with trembling hands. "David, thank you so much," Michael said. "Is there anything we can do?" "I'll create an official report. This shouldn't be sold in the first place. I recommend reporting it to the Consumer Product Safety Commission." After ending the call, they were silent for a while. Tears of anger and sadness welled in Ellie's eyes. "Our family gave Emma poison as a gift," she said in a trembling voice. Michael took her hand. "They didn't mean harm. But now, we need to find out the truth." That night, Natalie contacted them. Her voice was excited. "Ellie, you were right to be suspicious. According to my industry sources, the Elite Sleeper is a brand designed for appearance and prestige, while the actual products are cheaply produced in unlicensed factories in China. They're using connections to bypass safety standards." "But how? American safety standards are supposed to be strict, aren't they?" Ellie asked in confusion. "That's the problem. They've reclassified their products as high-end furniture to avoid the rigorous testing required for children's items. Plus, they provide free samples to celebrities for promotion and pressure to keep problems from surfacing." Ellie trembled with anger. "So other babies are at risk too?" With a determined expression, she opened social media and posted about her experience and warning. However, hours later, the post was deleted. Instead, a warning email from Elite Sleeper's legal department had arrived in her inbox. Ellie shuddered at the message, "Spreading false claims about our product constitutes defamation." That weekend, Vanessa and their parents visited Ellie's home as planned. Ellie opened the door while holding Emma, greeting them with a tense smile. "Emma, you've grown so much." Carol reached for her granddaughter. "Let me hold her." Ellie handed her daughter to her mother and led the family to the living room. But Vanessa's eyes immediately went to the new baby crib in the corner of the room. "What's this?" She raised an eyebrow. "Where's the crib we gave you?" Ellie took a deep breath. "I have something to talk to you about." As she began to explain the issues with the baby crib, her mother's expression gradually hardened. When Ellie talked about the test results, Vanessa folded her arms and snorted. "You're just being too neurotic," Vanessa said coldly. "Babies are sensitive. Thousands of babies use that crib, and I've never heard of any problems." "Is that really so?" Ellie countered. "Because information is being deliberately suppressed." Carol sighed. "Elizabeth, in our day we didn't worry about these chemicals. You young parents worry too much about everything." Ellie tried to control her anger. "Mom, this isn't about being overly worried. Emma actually showed a reaction. She got a rash and started coughing. Thomas spoke for the first time. If there really is a problem, it's worth investigating, isn't it? Thomas. Carol looked accusingly at her husband. Are you taking her side too? The argument heated up, and when Carol criticized, your parenting is too perfectionist, Ellie finally exploded. Are you prioritizing appearances over your child's health? She said with a trembling voice. This bed is making Emma sick. A tense silence filled the room. At that moment, Michael returned from work. He sensed the atmosphere and immediately understood the situation. Everyone, let me demonstrate, Michael said quietly. He brought out the elite sleeper and placed it in the center of the living room. Can I hold Emma? He asked Carol. Carol hesitantly handed her granddaughter to him. Michael brought Emma close to the crib, and as everyone watched, red spots began to appear on Emma's skin, and she started to cough. He immediately moved the baby away. I can't believe it, Thomas said with a shocked expression. Rachel and Natalie arrived just at that moment. Natalie opened her laptop and showed the family the evidence she had gathered. This is consumer fraud, Natalie explained. Products sold at high prices for their attractive design, but they don't meet safety standards. Carol was speechless and sat down on the sofa. Thomas shook his head bitterly. To think we gave such a thing to our granddaughter. But Vanessa still didn't seem convinced. What happens to me if this goes public? I recommended it on Instagram. Ellie felt desperate at those words. You still care about appearances? More than Emma's health? Of course not. Vanessa retorted, but couldn't meet her eyes. Ellie picked up Emma and showed strong determination. I choose my daughter's safety over family appearances. And for other babies' sake too, I intend to reveal the truth. It was clear that a deep rift had formed in the family. Thomas had begun to show understanding for Ellie's opinion, but Carol and Vanessa were turning away in fear of embarrassment. Ellie made up her mind, preparing for the difficult battle ahead. The fight to protect truth and safety had begun. The next morning, Ellie woke up to a notification sound on her smartphone. Looking at the screen, she saw an Instagram post from Vanessa. A weekend that made me think about the importance of family connections. Sadly, some people can't understand the value of luxury items. #family bonds #misunderstood. Ellie sighed. After yesterday's confrontation, Vanessa and her mother had left in anger. Only her father Thomas had gently patted her shoulder before leaving, quietly saying, I'll look into it. You okay? Michael came in from the kitchen and offered coffee. Vanessa has started throwing shade on social media, Ellie handed him the phone. Michael scrolled through the screen and frowned. Look at the comments section. Your friends are supporting you. Indeed, several of Ellie's friends had commented. Even Rachel had written, safety should be the priority. Ellie put down her phone and renewed her determination while preparing Emma's milk. If I stay quiet, other babies will be at risk. That afternoon, Ellie posted a question in her local mothers group chat about the safety of baby products. She didn't mention specific brand names, instead raising the topic as a general discussion about safety of design-oriented luxury baby products. The response was surprisingly large. She found that many mothers had similar concerns. One woman revealed, my child also developed a rash from a luxury brand product, and another shared rumors that some companies forge safety certificates. As Ellie was preparing dinner, her smartphone rang. It was an email from an unknown number. Ms. Elizabeth Clayton, this is the legal department of Elite Sleeper Company. Spreading false information about our products constitutes defamation and business obstruction. Please contact us urgently regarding this matter. Her hands trembled. Michael placed his hand on her shoulder and said, Don't be afraid. You're doing the right thing. The next day, Ellie and Michael filed a formal complaint with the Consumer Safety Agency. They attached David's test results and the evidence Natalie had gathered. The procedure was easier than expected, but the official warned, the investigation will take time. A few days later, Rachel called. "Why don't we hold a workshop tomorrow at the mothers group about baby product safety? Natalie says she'll speak as an expert." "Really?" Ellie was surprised. "I'm a bit scared after getting warning emails from the manufacturer." "That's exactly why it's important," Rachel said strongly. "They want to silence you. But you're not alone." The workshop was held at the local community center, and more mothers gathered than expected. Natalie explained about safety standards for children's products, and Ellie shared her experience as a consumer. She avoided specific brand names, using the general term luxury baby crib. "What I want to say is the importance of not judging by price or appearance alone, but investigating safety on your own," she concluded. However, during the presentation, the door opened and Vanessa entered with an angry expression. "How dare you do this?" Vanessa said with a trembling voice. "You're ruining the family's reputation." As the venue fell silent, Ellie took a deep breath. "Vanessa, let's not discuss this here." "I'll show everyone," Vanessa persisted. "That my sister is just being too neurotic." Ellie looked at Michael. He nodded slightly and stood up, holding Emma. "I'll show you evidence," Ellie said quietly, signaling to Michael. He took out a prepared sample piece of the Elite Sleeper from his bag and brought it near Emma. Immediately, a reaction began to appear on the baby's skin. The audience gasped. "This is not an act," Ellie said to the participants. "As mothers, it's our duty to protect our children's safety. Even if our family doesn't understand." She looked at Vanessa. Her sister's face showed anger, confusion, and a little shame. "Are you really saying you're selling products that endanger babies?" Vanessa lowered her voice. "What I'm saying is that we shouldn't prioritize appearances over safety," Ellie answered gently. The meeting caught the eye of a local news reporter, and a short feature was included in the next morning's news. Ellie's interview was included. 3 days later, a press release announced that the Consumer Safety Agency had begun investigating Elite Sleeper. A week later, the manufacturer announced a voluntary product recall for quality improvement. Learning this, Ellie felt a sense of achievement but also deep fatigue. She had won, but could her relationship with her family be repaired? As Ellie sat on her home porch, she had an unexpected visitor. It was her mother, Carol. "May I come in?" she asked in a smaller voice than usual. Ellie nodded. Carol sat on the sofa and after a moment of silence said, "You were right. Mom." Ellie searched for words. "No, listen. I was wrong. I'm sorry for criticizing your parenting. You are, truly a good mother, Elizabeth." Ellie took her mother's hand. Tears welled in her eyes. That night, Michael embraced Ellie in the kitchen and whispered, "You did the right thing. You're the best mother." Looking at Emma's sleeping face, Ellie thought that the rift with her family would heal with time. And most importantly, she had no regrets about trusting her instincts and standing up to protect her daughter. 6 months later, Ellie invited her family to her home garden. Brunch was prepared on the table, and Emma, now a year and a half old and beginning to toddle, played energetically under the shade of morning glories. "I have something to tell everyone," Ellie stood up with a glass in hand. The entire family, Michael, her parents, and Vanessa, focused on her. "We're expecting our second child." Cheers erupted, and Carol hugged her daughter. "Congratulations, Elizabeth." Thomas patted Michael's back with misty eyes. Over the past 6 months, family relationships had gradually been repaired. Elite Sleeper eventually recalled all products and announced new models that complied with safety standards. They never publicly acknowledged the previous issues, but it became a significant lesson within the industry. "Look at this," Vanessa showed her smartphone to Ellie. Once filled with luxury brand posts, her Instagram now featured hashtags like practical choices and child safety. "At the store, I now only deal with products that have received safety certification," she said, looking a bit embarrassed. After that incident, she temporarily lost her influence on social media. But now she had found a new direction. "That's wonderful, Vanessa," Ellie said sincerely. Carol sat with Emma on her lap and said, "Safety is more important than appearances." She still occasionally reverted to old habits, but now prioritized her grandchild's health. After lunch, Thomas called Ellie aside. "Your courageous action was right," he admitted candidly for the first time. "I should have stood by you sooner." "It's okay, Dad," Ellie gently squeezed her father's arm. "Family isn't always perfect. But we can learn from each other." That evening, Rachel came to visit. She and Natalie continued their awareness campaign about baby product safety, and Ellie's brave action had influenced many families. "You've saved many babies' lives," Rachel said, hugging Ellie. "You should be proud." After Michael put their daughter to bed, he sat with Ellie on the porch swing. As the twilight sky turned red, Ellie felt a peaceful satisfaction. "It was tough," Michael said, holding her hand. "Confronting family was painful," Ellie answered honestly. "But I'm glad I stood up for my child's safety." In the bedroom, Ellie gazed down at the sleeping Emma. Her daughter slept peacefully in a safe wooden crib. Space for the second baby was already prepared next to it. From this experience, Ellie learned the importance of trusting her instincts as a mother. And that sometimes, even if it means confronting those you love most, you need the courage to speak up for your children. In the moonlight streaming through the window, Ellie gently placed her hand on her stomach. A new life was growing. She was ready to stand up to protect her children in any situation. Because that's what a mother's unwavering love is all about.